Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 157, recording on Sunday, July 2nd, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we're coming in the tail end of summer game announcement month showcase extravaganza. We forgot about Annapurna, and not a lot of meat on that bone, but we'll take a bite. And we'll also talk about this huge FTC versus Microsoft hearing. I've got a hot take, but we'll get to that later and what we played. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. Happy Canada Day. Happy Independence Day out there, people.
Big week. Big week, I must say. I started Final Fantasy VII. 16.
What are you doing, bud?
Going back in time. Started Final Fantasy 16. I'm doing great.
You loving it?
I am loving it. Yeah. Though I'm not very far, so it's a pretty early hot take.
Okay. Holiday weekend's over. It's time to talk about Annapurna. And the showcase was the 30th of June, I think it aired, Friday. And we'll just go through it quickly, I think. But it started off with a montage of Annapurna games that were already released. Kind of like a way to say, like, hey, we make a lot, or we release a lot of good games. Like, yeah, we know. Skip this. This is a bad idea. And then the first thing it went to was Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which we've heard about before. I don't remember when and where. It might have been a previous Annapurna showcase. But really not a lot of updates here. It was like it's a puzzle game. I don't know if we had established that before. And I have to say, do you remember the maze? Because I think they said it a bunch of times. Do you remember the maze? Because they said it a lot. Maybe it was hard to really process that in 2x speed, Huck.
It wasn't. It was. I got it.
Okay.
At 2x speed, no problem.
Anyone wish listing? Do you remember? I mean, sorry, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. It's not called Do You Remember the Maze?
I don't know if I actually have it on my wish list, but I'm definitely interested. I feel like we saw it at a Nintendo Direct previously, and I think maybe even the thing we saw before had some actual gameplay. I could be wrong, but I feel like we had this, or at least I had in my head this idea that it was some kind of puzzle platformer. And then this trailer seemed to be more just about setting a vibe or giving you an idea of it's kind of this sort of spy conspiracy sci-fi thing. I don't really know, but I
didn't even pick up on that stuff, to be honest, but you must have been chubbing up. Those are things that really move your needle.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, what game is this? And then when they said the title, I was like, oh, that's not didn't seem to match up with what I thought this game was, but yeah, I'm interested. Comes out this year.
I am not really that interested yet because I still don't really know what the game is, to be honest. And I feel like this trailer was purely trying to go viral with like the symbol code at the end.
Yeah, I assume there's something to decipher and go to some website or
exactly. So, Frank, did IGN write an article about how to decode the thing at the end?
I doubt it. I did not. I had that thought. I'm like, I bet there's a secret message here. And for
it was obvious at the end.
For a fraction of a second, I was like, should I look up what it was? And I'm like, nah, it's not worth the time.
That's the thing. I think that's all this was trying to do, was like trying to build up hype, like, I don't know, some sort of like secret code. Oh, like crack the code. And I don't know, I'm not really looking around, but I didn't get the feeling that it really hit the way possibly they wanted to. I don't see a lot of people on social media like talking about, oh, did you crack the code of Lorelei and the Laser Eyes?
Give it some time. I may just,
maybe
busy weekend for people.
Yeah, like I might not be plugged into Annapurna Twitter. Maybe I'm just not quite plugged in, but I missed it.
It'll probably blow up on like Wednesday once the holidays settle down.
Definitely.
Okay. Definitely. Might have been a bad strategy. I would show some gameplay personally. I would also mention with the montage at the beginning with Annapurna games, all their games are on sale on Steam right now as part of the Steam summer sale. There's lots of really good games in there. Neon White. I bought like 20 games that I didn't have before. And yeah, Steam summer sale, and Steam Deck is on sale, which is pretty rare. So if you were thinking must be a new one coming out, do not buy it.
Uh-oh. Are they feeling the ROG Ally pressure?
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be. Okay, next, Cocoon, which we've also seen before. September 29th, I looked it up. It's coming out on Steam. This game looks amazing. I cannot wait for this game. This kind of recursive puzzler in terms of like world, like going into and out of different worlds and like inside vibes a bit. There was a isometric portion where the character was flying through this ring, this very stylized ring, and this game is giving me nothing but great vibes.
Yeah, it is from one of the lead designers, I think, of Inside and Limbo.
Yep.
But I mean, there's been a lot of games coming out recently that are kind of like those games and inspired by those games. I feel like this one, you know, I see the influence, but I also feel like it's trying something a little different. It's, you know, kind of isometric instead of, you know, like a 2D side scroller type thing. So yeah, I'm definitely in on this. They also, the trailer, I think, showed that they won some kind of award or something at Summer Game Fest. I don't totally remember. I didn't know they even gave out awards, but
I missed that.
Some sort of like most anticipated game this year at Summer Game Fest. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm less interested in it than you guys. I thought it looked fine. I didn't think it looked any different really than what they showed before. It seems like it's still just about, you know, moving between those different levels of worlds or whatever you call them, like going through those teleportation thingies and changing scale or whatever it's doing. So not that interested. I like that it's September, you know, release, and like every platform I wrote down, like it had like PS4, Xbox One, like, so they're obviously trying to get as much as they can out of it. So that's cool. Not as interested in you as you guys, but still could be cool.
All right. Next, is it Lush Foil Photography Sim? Is that right? Is that not correct?
I think that's right.
Lush Foil.
That's right.
And it's just some kind of photography simulator in photorealistic environments. Don't really have a lot to say about it.
Yeah, definitely looked like an ad for UE5 to me.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look how awesome our environments are. Look at all this nanite stuff and Lumen. We're so cool, kind of thing.
And not the next announcement isn't that big either, but I was confused because they were showing that game and then they went to a developer spotlight. And I think for the developer spotlight, they didn't really say what game they're working on. They just showed some small footage. And I was like, are they working on that game? Is it something else? Because like there was like trees.
No.
I know, but there was trees in that photography game that looked like trees from Kyoto where they were. So just like the order of those two announcements, I found pretty confusing.
Yeah, and they did have in the photography game, they did have those like, they're not like pergolas, but those like archways, those Japanese archways.
Yeah, which I think the one that they showed is actually from Kyoto. So I could see why there'd be confusion. It is, I think the photography one is just one guy developing it.
Okay.
But yeah,
I just found it kind of weird.
I guess we could say, like, and we probably talked about this last time, but they, you know, the way Annapurna does their showcases is kind of interesting because they'll bounce back and forth between all the people they're working with. And sometimes there's not even a game to announce. It's just, hey, here's a developer, let's tell their story, which, you know, the cynical side of me is like, what's the point? But then I don't know, I kind of like those little things too. So I don't mind it.
Okay, well, let's skip ahead a bit if we're going to talk about the developer spotlights, because the other one was Glass Revolver, and I don't think I wrote the game name down here. I wish listed it. Something We Kill Monsters, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I was actually really curious. I found that both stories actually of the developers were pretty interesting. I liked both. And this game we really didn't get a sense of what the other game was at all. This one was like a 3D Monster Hunter type game, and the developer talked about scrapping a 2D version and literally deleting a project and stuff like that. So bad move, but what are you going to do? Could you
source control, buddy? Source control.
Could you ever like delete a project permanently? I could never. I would not be.
I have not on purpose,
but like like put it on a zip drive somewhere, or whatever, like something. I could not do that.
Yeah, I have projects from 15 years ago still on my computer or on my like server now. But yeah, getting rid of it completely is sad.
Perhaps too bold.
Yeah, perhaps
made for a good story. Great story. Okay, so the next in order was going back to a T, which I don't remember the exact connection to Katamari.
It is the creator of Katamari.
Okay.
Keita Takahashi.
All right. And this is like, the concept is a character stuck in a T pose. So if you're not into video game development, the kind of default pose for a model is arms out in a T. And we call that a T pose. And this character is stuck in that and has powers or people that help them because they're stuck in that pose. So not a lot to go on, but I really thought it was an interesting concept and cool art style.
Do you know that there's powers and stuff? Did it?
Well, they show a tornado, like where you can do a spin and fly. Because,
okay.
Like kind of like a seed with a propeller top or something like that. And I don't know. I don't know how much gameplay there's going to be, to be honest. This is another game where we don't really know what it is. But as with most of the games, aside for maybe one, art style exceptional across the board.
So it did also say that it was in collaboration with Able Gamers. So I actually had a feeling that this is going to be more, and even if like the lyrics of the theme song sort of imply it's like an anti-bullying type game almost. So I don't know how much they're going to lean into the like you're fine just the way you are like aspect, or if there's actually going to be deep mechanics based on this T-pose thing.
Oh, I thought you might go a different direction, like it's designed for like accessible controllers and stuff like that.
I think that's probably also true for sure. But like they did definitely, like in the theme song, it's talking about like, oh, you're fine just the way you are, like in your T-pose or whatever, which it's a nice take. It's like a metaphor to other things, which is nice. But yeah, I didn't really get a feeling other than that spinning top thing, like you said, that I didn't get a feeling for what the game was at all.
Yeah, there's the dog that helps them out and stuff like that. But I like the song, actually.
The song was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a good trailer. I agree. Don't really know what it is, but the humor and stuff, and obviously the Katamari inspiration influence there. Like, I think that I'm kind of interested for sure.
I'm intrigued. Next, Flock, which personally for me was the game of the showcase. Like so many games that it seems to be borrowing influence from, including like Flower and Flow, I think is the first one. Maybe Journey a little bit. Viva Pinata. What's the game your kids love, Sean?
Bug Snacks.
Like all those, but still feeling really unique at the same time, where you build this flock of creatures. And this seems like something I would be very into. And like we often talk about, I could see the gameplay, like finding things. I can't remember the term they used for corralling or getting something to join. They had a specific verbiage
like
for that.
Charming them or something.
Thank you. And I don't know. I love the art style too, the design of the creatures. So, and I think it's the developer of Wilmot's Warehouse, which I know one of you liked quite a bit, or possibly both.
I played it quite a bit. I don't think I beat it though, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, this one I did like the visuals. I don't know, gameplay wise, it wasn't like totally hooking me, but the weird thing was I thought the way they presented it, I kind of thought the game was already out or something. Like I don't know why. Like I guess there were some of the things they showed were like updates to existing games and stuff, but they were kind of like demonstrating the game. And I just somehow the way they were demonstrating it was kind of like, oh yeah, this is already out. Come check out this game. You can check it out. I don't know why I thought that, but it says here it does not have a release date yet.
Yeah, I wasn't as interested. I'm not as obsessed with animals as Frank is, though, so that could be why. I don't know. I thought it kind of looked boring, to be honest. Like anything with anything with flying where you don't actually go any more than like 1 foot above the ground, I just immediately have like a aversion to. But I mean, I did think the art style was nice. I was like expecting them to fly up a little higher than, a collision cylinder height above the ground. But, that's just me.
Frank's not happy with
really bringing the heat on Flock. Flock, you. Flocking amazing.
If flocking sucks, bud.
Okay. Moving on, I guess, to Ghost Bike. Which another game, not sure what it is. This is a very similar story. Not sure what it is. Looks amazing. But it's like something about riding a bike and you're dead, or like very cool cinematography and visuals. And the other selling point, I think, which they pointed out, was the music. Apparently all being pulled from, I just looked it up, a label called Italians Do It Better. Are you familiar with this label, Sean?
I'm not, but I was digging the music, so I actually looked it up as well.
I might look into it a bit more because I really liked the tunes as well, or the tune.
Yeah, I mean, again, very cool visuals. I don't like, it's literally, we just saw a guy riding a bike. Like, I don't know what that means, but could be cool. Might be.
I must
awesome.
say that bike animation, top notch. That pedaling animation, it looked real good, real smooth. But it's so weird when you announce a game like this, obviously tied to ghosts, and then you literally don't show what the ghost aspect is, just the cycling aspect. Like, it's so strange to me. Like, this is your hook. The ghost part is your hook. You're not making a Tour de France game here. You're making some sort of like ghost biking game. You should probably like show what that is. So I don't know. It looks cool, but I don't think I'll remember this in a week because you never really told me what the ghost part was about. So right now I'm interested, but at a pass.
It's not coming out till 2024, so this is a pretty early announcement, I guess. I wouldn't.
But like what you're saying, Frank, is true though. Like, this whole showcase is kind of an interesting example of just where indie games are at, right? Because they do all these interesting smaller indie games at Annapurna, and every single one of these games is selling itself based on art style first and foremost, and that's what we're seeing everywhere. It's like, come up with a cool concept, but just the art style's got to be unique and kind of eye-catching.
And I don't know how long that's going to be a viable strategy for Annapurna, because we talked about this before as well. In all the showcases, like, every game has an amazing art style. That's like the minimum level or bar of entry to get into a showcase no matter what. So that might not be enough in the future. They're going to have to focus a bit more on gameplay, I think, because even stuff like what was the music art game that was like a side scroller?
Artful Escape.
Like, looked great. Gameplay was not all that interesting, and I think lots of games have inventive art styles, so they're gonna have to step up their design. Okay, I'm gonna group three things together that are almost non-announcements to me, just platform updates. They were called. Mundawn. Has anyone heard or played this game? I wishlisted.
No.
I played it, like, I bought it on Steam last year or maybe the year before, and played, a good half hour.
It's a walking simulator kind of thing, adventure game.
Well, but it's a horror game though too, so it's definitely got an atmosphere to it. I didn't really yeah, in terms of actual interactivity and what you do in the game, there didn't seem to be that much to it.
This is the hand-drawn pencil one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, walking simulator. We're out. Next, Stray coming to I think that game is coming to a bunch of platforms, which it wasn't on before. Stray is coming to Xbox in August. And
I actually really liked this reveal of they like incorporated it into the game, and like with the cat hitting the Xbox controller off the table, I thought was a pretty clever way of introducing it rather than just, a title card or whatever.
No, I've seen this game before. Don't care. Give me the news. Out of here. The Storyteller coming to Netflix. Sean, you must be loving this, man.
Hey, man, all I'm going to say is Netflix is starting to surpass Apple Arcade, in my opinion. Like, they're pulling in pretty like big name games and bringing them to mobile. And so if you happen to have a Netflix subscription, I mean, obviously a lot of these games you probably already played a year or two ago, like Shredder's Revenge is on there. What's that? Breach,
Into the Breach?
Into the Breach is on there.
Like turn-based strategy game, that one?
Yeah, there's some pretty interesting stuff. So, I mean, give it a poke. But yeah, Storyteller, I was interested in playing this game. I hadn't bought it yet. So now I'm like, cool, I'll wait and play it on iOS.
Yeah. When's the last time you played an Apple Arcade game?
Well, I canceled it a long time ago. So I
didn't even know Apple Arcade was still a thing, to be honest.
Yeah, there was a couple things they added recently where I was kind of like, oh, that was kind of interesting, but I still haven't resubscribed.
Or Apple. Okay, 3 more, I think all new in it. No, maybe not all new. Next, Thirsty Suitors. Kind of a dating sim adventure game, clearly inspired by Scott Pilgrim, getting revenge on your exes or something like that, or the exes are out to get you. It adds like skateboarding mechanics, it looks like, as part of the character. And I don't know. I didn't dislike the art style, but it didn't hook me as much as some of the other ones. Mostly the proportions on some of the character models I wasn't that crazy about, but it looks okay. I just, again, don't know exactly what it is. And if you're gonna have a skating mechanic, like, it's got to be pretty decent. There's lots of good skating games, so I think that's gonna, like, that better be good is all I'll say, I guess.
We have seen this one before, though, quite for quite a few.
I remember now.
Showcases.
Yeah.
It feels like a game that's gonna kind of the streaming community is gonna make or break it. Like, if a lot of people are streaming this game and it's kind of funny and getting a lot of attention because of that, then I think it could do well. And to be honest, the thing that I thought was kind of the most interesting and funny was like the parent angle. Like the parents and relatives are kind of like, seem like bosses or something you have to fight. Like, that kind of was kind of cool, but it overall doesn't really seem like my kind of game.
I find it very interesting because it's obviously very inspired by some sort of Indian, like from Indian family life. And I know a lot of people that have a similar like family dynamic where they're just like, their mothers are just like so powerful in their life and so overbearing. And I wonder what the interest level would be of that sort of community if they would actually pick this game up, like men and women alike, and play it, because it seems like very true to that experience from what I can tell from having friends with similar life experiences to this. And I have a feeling they'd be interested in playing it, and it'd probably be hilarious. I don't know. I thought it looked pretty funny with like some of the mom moves and stuff, of like kicking the chair and then like flipping up and like kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think I kind of like the humor in it. I don't really know how the gameplay is going to work, like you guys were saying, with the skateboarding and the battles or whatever. But I agree about the Scott Pilgrim stuff. I don't know. I kind of am digging the humor in it, so I'm interested in it. I don't know, what it's really going to be like though. But I'm into it.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly give it a shot, but it was lower on the list of stuff in the showcase. Next up was the game I'm least interested in, 100% Bounty Star, kind of a half, probably 3/4 mech action game and maybe a quarter management sim. And I did not like the visual style. Nothing about this really pulled me at all. It's bottom of the list as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, mostly agree. I like the mech mixed with the Western vibe was kind of cool, but the management sim stuff kind of turned me off.
That being said, in the trailer, or the showcase, they said it has like current gen, like action, AAA action gameplay or something like that. So if it plays really well, I would certainly play it. But a little tough to tell that from what we saw. Art style wise, it did not attract me.
But it's a post-apocalyptic game. How could you not be intrigued?
Interesting. To be honest, but I say I'm not into construction management stuff. It's kind of a barrier to entry. But with Call to the Lamb, it was pretty successful. So it can be done well. So I'm not writing it off, but let's move on. Next, the final game announcement was a new announcement from the actual internal studio at Annapurna. And I feel like Huck is the one that needs to talk about this. Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think about this trailer, to be honest. It looked like that Blade Runner game from Westwood Studios from, 15, 20 years ago now. But they showed one scene of a guy walking down a hallway. And I'm like, is that gameplay? I don't know. Because in the rest of the stuff they kind of implied was gameplay was more, going through like a virtual time lapse thing, almost like, a Batman investigation in an Arkham game, and sort of like scrubbing through time to explore and find clues about stuff. So I don't really know what it's about. I was expecting, if this is going to be a Blade Runner game, for the music to be way more like in your face, hard hitting Zimmer type score. And, it had notes of it and you could kind of feel it, but it didn't give me the Blade Runner feels totally. The art style was fine, I guess. I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. I'm interested to know more, but right now I'm not intrigued.
But you love the original Blade Runner, right?
Oh, yeah.
So at the very least, if it's true to that and a new version of that, you've got to be kind of excited.
I guess. I mean, that one is a special thing. And this did not give me the impression that it was anything like that adventure game.
But see, yeah, there's not a lot to go on. I don't disagree. But Sean, you also love Blade Runner. I don't even know if you've played the original game.
I've never played the original point and click game. But yeah, I guess, I don't know. My first impression of this, and again, we can't really tell from the trailer what it is. I'm assuming this is like a Telltale Games kind of thing. That's what I'm assuming. And if it is, I'm not super excited for that. But I don't know. There's a part of me that's like, yeah, like there hasn't been a new Blade Runner game in a long time. Obviously, this is a big license. Annapurna has done some cool stuff. I would love for them to come up with something really cool and unique here. But I mean, there's also a part of me that's like, there's like this Blade Runner anime series that came out a couple years ago. Like, I think there's some comics. Like, I feel like they're trying to fill in all the years in between, like the original Blade Runner and the sequel. And like, I'm not really following any of that stuff, so I don't know if that matters. But yeah, just the fact that it's called Blade Runner 2033 kind of it tells you where it fits into the continuity, I guess, right? So it makes me feel like I need to know everything surrounding it.
Well, I'll go on record and say I don't know what this game is, but it will be amazing. You heard it here first.
Whoa, hot take.
Bold.
What Remains of Edith Finch is amazing. If it's those developers, I think an adventure game in their hands will be done very well.
Well, I don't know if
So,
it's them.
Yeah, Chelsea Hash was the person who introduced it, who was technical art lead on What Remains of Edith Finch and game director of Solar Ash.
Which I
Okay,
love. Ash, I forgot about
that's
that.
pretty good credentials then. I thought she was a producer or something, but if she was technical art lead and director, then that's a good sign for this game.
I think it's going to be really good. Okay, you know what? Are we giving a letter grade on this or what?
Again,
one thing before we give the letter grade, did you guys watch the actual presentation or did you just do your IGN highlight reel?
I watched the entire presentation,
okay,
with everyone we talk about.
I really liked that the slide before, like the graphic before the thing they were about to show, had the place the team was located in, the name of the game, the studio, and what they were showing. So, game update or release reveal trailer or announcement trailer or whatever, or developer info. I liked that. I liked having all the info going into the trailer beforehand. And I like knowing where it's from. It's kind of cool to know where these developers are located. So I really liked that aspect of the showcase. And I like that the intro speech from whoever the person is of Annapurna, I can't remember her name, but it was nice and short and sweet. Like she just came in, introduced it, and got going. There's no fluff. It was just right to the point. Here's the games. And then there was, just one other one with the Solar Ash lady, and that's it. And then not much else in terms of fluff, which was kind of cool, kind of refreshing.
Yeah, I think there's a little fluff. There's the montage at the beginning and the platform updates were a little too long for me, but still overall pretty good. Let's do some quick letter grades. Sean, what do you got?
Feeling like a C plus on this.
I could C plus that. I'm going to give it a B minus though.
I'm also going to give it a B minus. Yeah, I'm in that camp. So we're all pretty close.
But Ubisoft, you've still got it.
Still got it.
Unchallenged. And we're done. We're shutting this down. We're not even going to acknowledge another showcase if it happens. Because wasn't there rumors of a second Nintendo Direct or a second showcase or something like that?
I don't know. There's going to be more, I'm sure. But yeah.
All right.
The month is over. We're done.
Earlier this week, as I check IGN multiple times throughout the day, every 10 minutes, there was some new story about the FTC, Xbox, and Sony leaks coming out of this hearing, the American hearing for the merger with Activision and Microsoft, or acquisition, I should say. And it was, I'll just say my thoughts. I think this whole thing is really gross. Like how they're like every little thing they can extract from this hearing that gets released becomes an article. I don't give a flying fuck what the budget is for The Last of Us Part 2 or Horizon Forbidden West. I thought they were kind of low, to be honest. And I don't even know why these are stories. And I don't give a shit. Just give them Activision already so I can get on with my fucking life. I do not care. They can have it. I don't see what the big deal is. Anyway, what are the big things I need to care about here, Sean? Because I'm just checked out. You're gossiping. You're into all this shit, dude.
I don't like, in terms of the stuff that quote unquote leaked, I don't think there's that much interesting stuff. Like, to me, I think the things that stood out was they had some stats on Call of Duty and like how popular it is on PlayStation, which, that is obvious. But there was like, I can't remember the number now, but there was like a number of how many people own a PlayStation console and only play Call of Duty. They have never played another game
or something like that, but don't quote me. I skimmed.
Yeah. Like, so that's just an interesting thing to think about. Like, I feel like I don't ever consider that fact that the's a lot of people that's the one game, that's the only thing they play. They buy a game console just to play that game. I mean,
I would have guessed a high number for that as well. Like there is gamers that just play like Call of Duty and sports games. It's a pretty big market. So,
yeah, I know Madden and NBA are like that too.
Oh, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just want to move on. I want this to end. Huck,
yeah,
sorry, Sean.
Well, no, I don't know. Like, it's getting very confusing because, as we've discussed previously, or at least I think we have, that, there's different trade commissions for different countries and they all have to approve it. And then there was the Europe one that I think like didn't approve it, but then I think it got overturned. But this is now like the FTC in the US that's going through all of this. Like, it's just so hard to follow and understand exactly what's going on. I guess at the end of the day, there's going to be one ruling that tells us if the merger happens or not, and we're just waiting for that at this point.
Two last things that are more about the actual hearing versus the news stories. I think the ruling is now in one judge's hand that I think is going to come in before July 15th. Thank God. And so if they rule in favor of the FTC, the deal's off, presumably, and Microsoft has to pay a $3 billion penalty to Activision.
Whoa.
That's pretty major. That's a lot of cash. So maybe that's what this is all about. That's the one sentence I read. Like, I'm like, this feels like this is the whole story. This $3 billion penalty. And there's Activision doesn't really care what happens. Sony is probably just doing it to hurt Microsoft with that. And anyway, I still think
do you think this was Kodak's plan the whole time? He knew it was going to go to the FTC and he wanted that $3 billion for cheap, maybe. For straight up.
I would not be surprised.
Now there's a shareholder return right there. Do nothing. Well, I guess they probably have to pay for lawyers. So, but still.
But does anyone else think like those like $200 million for Last of Us 2 seems really cheap to me?
It seems like a lot, but I thought God of War was around 200 million. And didn't they say one of the games, like Last of Us, was like 200 million and 200 people or something, or 2,000 people? And then they had another game, I think it was God of War, that was a little bit more, but 300 people.
I think it's Horizon. I think it was
Horizon.
But yeah, I think the thing that out of that was interesting was I think it sounded like The Last of Us Part 2 didn't do as well as they thought it would. That was part of it, like the actual sales of the game. And so, that was where like the budget, people were like, oh, the budget's pretty high and they didn't do as well as they thought they would. But I don't really understand why.
This falls under the studios didn't make their money back on their big release. So I couldn't give a shit.
Like, no. They made their money back.
I am not worried about any of these companies. Like indie companies, maybe, but the market is what it is. This stuff is all.
I think the difference is like they were expecting 10x, they only got 4x. Oh, boo-hoo.
Well, I think one thing, I was reading some other article this week that was kind of unrelated to this, but like one thing that could affect like, that the sales of these games matter is like, we talk about Sony being all about their single player games. Like they push those single player, third person action adventure games. But if the sales for those games are not keeping up, maybe, and there was some talk of this from the last state of play or whatever, where it's like they are potentially starting to move towards more like games as a service, multiplayer online games. And that kind of would suck, I think.
It would also suck for them because they would tank immediately. That's why people play that console. So good luck to you. You're done if you make that decision. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I agree. But didn't you guys hear AI is coming to save us, man? Content generation for free. Come on.
So I feel like I had one last thing to say, but I don't know. Sean, I got to hit the cough button here. Talk for a second.
I don't have anything else to say, but I guess maybe this is a segue into Final Fantasy, but there's a bit of a, I've been seeing there's a bit of a debate over Final Fantasy XVI in regards to Sony. Well, I guess it's not Sony, but I guess Square Enix chasing sort of the chasing the money with this game, right? Like that's a lot of people are saying that they've kind of obviously moved away from the pure RPG to like an action RPG. And it's like they're trying to chase the big blockbuster games that are making the most money. And in doing so, are they, sabotaging or ruining what people love about Final Fantasy? And I guess I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Huck, but this is a debate that's raging.
Is this what we played?
Yeah, so
partially.
This could be a segue. Could be a segue.
Unless you ruin it. We were going great. So you should cop button up again, Frank.
I need it to be official. I need to say this is what we played.
Yeah, this is the transition into what we played. But I don't necessarily agree that they're just like chasing the money, because Final Fantasy 15 had a pretty similar, action-oriented style. It wasn't turn-based battles like Final Fantasy 13 was, for instance. And Final Fantasy 14, I think, is an action-y MMO, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't played 14, but I know it's super popular, and I think it's kind of action-y. So
not sure about that, but
yeah. Well, I mean, they've been going down this route. It's not like they just stumbled upon it and like, oh, all these games are making this action. Elden Ring and Dark Souls are coming out, and they're all third-person action games. And I don't think it's that. I think they've kind of been leaning this way for a while. So, and you could kind of even see that with Final Fantasy VII Remake. I mean, it does the same thing. It goes more down an action route, and I think it, harnesses kind of the both sides great. So, I don't know. I'm liking it a lot so far. I'm not finding it. The only thing I found frustrating so far is the like limited item slot amounts, but I don't know if that expands later.
Like in terms of armor and accessories and stuff like that?
No, like you can only have 4 potions and like 2 boost potions equipped on your quick. Now, I don't know if that's total. I think it is total, because when I was running through the castle, it wouldn't let me get more than 4. But I don't know. That seems weird. That seems kind of anti Final Fantasy to me. You got to stockpile, man. You got to be able to stockpile.
Well, with what Sean said, there was, I got to say, an article on IGN that I think the headline was it God of War is more of an RPG than Final Fantasy 16? And I mean, I could see that case. They've really streamlined the RPG elements to story and put a focus on combat with options for playing, like where it auto dodges, and you can avoid that stuff if you want. But to be honest, the Final Fantasy series has been going in that direction for a long time. Even 13, people complained that it was linear and kind of on autopilot. It was just about like some decision making, and it's not a huge surprise to me, but I just like the vibe so far. I like the story, the visuals, the combat is simple yet satisfying. So I admittedly did not play a lot this week, so I am slightly embarrassed. Anything else you've been liking about it, or?
Well, I just think it's just insanely polished. There's a few things where like the characters are kind of teleport a bit, and I set it on my PS5 to be the graphics mode instead of the performance mode, because I heard that like there's certain sections where the performance chugs, but I don't really notice it that much when I'm playing a game like this. So, I mean, I would notice it, I think, if it dipped really low, but I think it just looks pretty incredible. I like, this is a AAA role-playing game with all the, the set piece moments. And so far I've been loving the story. Like that intro is great. I think it's a really strong opening for a Final Fantasy game, to be honest, with how they're switching timelines too, to kind of explain the backstory. I really like that aspect of it. And I feel like the way they walk you through everything and bring up the menus at just the right time. Sorry, not the menus, but like the tutorial windows at just the right time as you need it. And I really like how they have the controls on the screen, so you can always reference them if you forget. And I think it'll make it really easy to hop back into the game if you take some time off, which sometimes I have troubles with these action games, where you take a week or two off, or a couple months in my case. You come back, you don't know how to play, you forget, and you can pull up the controller map, but it's not as simple as being able to just glance over and see it while you're playing in real time. So I don't know. I've been really impressed so far, but I'm just past where the demo ends, so I'm not very far into the game yet.
John, did you play any more? Or
I didn't play any more this week, no. But I'm, like I said, I got a couple other games that I want to get through first, but I really am hoping to get to it.
Sean, anything else you're playing then?
Well, so I guess just to follow up on last week, I did beat Tears of the Kingdom. Still hoping we're going to get to do like a full review. I don't know if Huck will be there, or if we'll have to get someone else to sit in, but I think there's lots to discuss. I just, in general, I really like the game. Like I know you had some complaints about the sort of like, I don't know if you would call it the end game stuff, but like, what happens after the four main temples.
Core aspect of the game, the four main temples, that's probably 2/3 or more, or sorry, 3/4 of the game or more. I loved, with some minor criticisms, but there's a lot of stuff that just in general, I prefer Breath of the Wild is my summary for now.
Yeah. And I think I'm probably still would agree with that statement for me, but I think there's a lot that it brings to the table. And I think I had a really good time with it. Some of your complaints, which we have discussed offline, I agree with, but I mean, for the most part, they didn't bother me that much. I'm like, yeah, I could see that, but I
just a little tease for the review. This is not a major thing, and it's not a spoiler. 3 simple words: the depths suck. There is no point to this. Like, you think it's fun to have like flat terrain that you walk 10 feet and then drop a light or shoot a light arrow and do that over and over again. Like, to have this new health economy, I guess it's kind of interesting, but the design of that level is boring and uninspired, and it's an excuse to just make the game bigger, not better. So we'll have more hot takes like that coming in the Tears of the Kingdom review.
Yeah, we'll get into it. But
I'll talk to Alex. I think Alex is just finishing it up too.
So I'm back into Jedi Survivor. Don't really have too much to say about that, but that's kind of what I'm trying to focus on.
Game of the year.
Yeah, you're definitely trying to get everyone to play it, which I can appreciate. You want to talk about Pikmin? I did try the Pikmin 4 demo, so why don't you go first, and then I can touch on that maybe.
All right, so I beat Pikmin 1 last week, and then I moved on to Pikmin 2, and I looked at the Metacritic for Pikmin games, and Pikmin 2 was the highest, I think. So Pikmin 1 was an 89, Pikmin 2 is 90, Pikmin 3 is 87, and there's some DS. Confounds me to no end. Pikmin 2 is so frustrating, and I'm sure I'm going to play Pikmin 3 after this, but it gets harder and has these kind of dungeons that are pretty much exercises in frustration, because it wasn't that big of a deal in the first Pikmin. You have this aiming reticle where you throw the Pikmin, and like it matters where you throw them on creatures, and it's so hard to aim this thing. And when you need precision, and I can tell the direction of the game internally is that's part of the game. It's an exercise in frustration. when the Pikmin don't do what you want, that's part of the charm of the game and losing a Pikmin. And I just don't get that. I do not understand that direction. Or when you try to pick the one you want and sort and use the R, and it's like this. I like the concept that the Pikmin are tangible physical things, that there's no HUD. You actually have to see where they are in the world. And it's like, that's an interesting idea, but it just leads to more frustration than fun. So I think this game has always gotten by on its cuteness and art style, which I do love, but I'm hoping with Pikmin 3 and Pikmin 4, they have addressed some of the user experience issues with this game. And spoiler, I talked to Sean a bit, who played the demo, and I'm not getting the vibe that they did, which I think Pikmin 2 is too hard and frustrating, especially to 100% it, which I'm doing now. If you go down these dungeons, it's 15 levels deep. And if you run out of Pikmin or fail, you have to go do almost all of it again. It's so annoying.
That sounds disgusting.
I mean, at least like a strategy game, if you fail, it only saves if you want. So you can redo it and kind of I basically have to close the game and restart it again. And I'm so done with Pikmin right now.
Yeah, so I did play the demo for Pikmin 4, which is out on the Switch right now. And from what I understand, it's actually a pretty lengthy one, like 2 hours or something. So I only probably played maybe half an hour, but it reminded me. So I have never played Pikmin 1 and 2, but I'm pretty sure I played the demo for 3 as well. And I'm playing this one, and I'm remembering why I just kind of never, like, it could just be the way the game starts. And you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, Frank, but like, it just feels like it's holding your hand through everything to the point where like, you're almost not doing anything. And I have to assume that that's just like the intro and that's just a tutorial thing. But like, it just
I personally got the opposite vibe with Pikmin 1 and 2, where it's actually more about you figuring things out, and your character has a log when they learn something new. It actually doesn't tell you a lot of stuff, but I'm sure that's maybe frustrated people initially, and they've addressed it with sequels. But I don't know. I like the base idea of the game. I just wish it was less frustrating to play. And I mean, obviously this is a casual or a Nintendo take on a real-time strategy game that's more action based, but like using an avatar rather than just selecting things. And I can't help but think how much less frustrating this game would be with a mouse to click things, select things. Even like when I have all my Pikmin, 100 of them, and I say like, okay, sort and disband. And in doing that, it pushes them in the water, which I didn't want them to do. Or it doesn't actually separate them enough that I can pick the ones I want and do. It just doesn't let me do what I want to do. The whole game is an exercise in frustration. It's, but I do like it. It's so weird. I can't stop playing it, yet I hate it. It's fucked up, dude.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there are some things they've done to improve it, but I think that main sort of reticle that's out in front of you that is used to aim them has been the same through the whole series. So
at this point, I feel like I'm on like my Pikmin journey. Like I'm going through this series for better or for worse and finding everything it's about. And we'll see when it ends. If it ends at Pikmin 2, 3, or 4. But I got to spend 2 more vouchers, so might as well be 3 and 4.
Yeah. I guess I don't have too much else to say about it, but I do want to play a little bit more just so I can see that, it gets past that. Cause didn't feel like I was really making any decisions. It was just kind of like every obstacle you come to is like, okay, use this Pikmin on this. And it was obvious, even if it didn't tell you, it was obvious what you needed to do. So I was like, where's the strategy in this? But it's got to be just the tutorial.
I think so. And it's probably designed to be a demo as well and attract new people that haven't played previously, and young people, I would think as well. It's cute. It's a cute little game.
But I mean, that's a problem with demos in general, I think, or I guess more specifically tutorials, because it's like you want to give people a good taste of what the game's going to be pretty quickly. And if you're just holding their hand through so many things, it's like you don't really get a sense of what it is.
You know what? I don't want to go here, but I'm gonna. And when I play this game and other games, a narrative is building. I like my narratives. And speaking of Pikmin and seeds, the seed has been planted and it's sprouting. Miyamoto might be one of the most overrated developers ever.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Flowing mechanic, Donkey Kong, Zelda, generally overrated. I might go down the Miyamoto rabbit hole and start peeling back the layers. I'm sorry. There's lots of flaws here.
Now you're going to have to start finding out what he actually is responsible for and what he's just rubber stamping. So
anyway, I'm not there yet. This is not an official hot take, but like I said, it's sprouting up. It's on my mind.
I imagine he's rubber stamping a lot these days. I can't imagine he's like down in the trenches still.
Like okay, I'm just bringing up his Wikipedia here. I feel like this might have to be a whole episode at some point. Let's look at what he's actually director of. I mean, first major game he directed.
Guy's 70 years old.
I know. Okay, just like Donkey Kong. We all agree Donkey Kong is ass, right? Like it was always ass. When you played it, when a kid, it was ass.
I've never been into them myself.
Yeah, like the original Donkey Kong is not good.
But I mean, you got to put it in context of when it came out, frankly. I don't think that's a...
Oh, wait, hang on. You're talking about the one where you roll the barrels down, you jump over them as Mario? Okay, I kind of like that.
I always hated it. Obviously, Mario Brothers is
legendary.
We'll never say a bad thing. So no matter how spicy this take gets, I will never besmirch Mario, except for some of Mario 64. Star Fox 64 rules. Luigi's Mansion.
He's being persuaded. The spicy take is becoming less spicy.
The best Marios, he was not director on, though. Just gonna put that out there. Designer of Steel Diver for 3DS. Okay, there's something here. We will pocket or push this conversation aside for the future. But Sean is not liking what I'm saying here. I can tell you that right now.
I mean, if we need to get some clickbait out there, we can definitely go back to this. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, that's definitely on my mind. Okay, I think that's all I have. Sorry, Miyamoto.
Yeah, that's it for me. There were a few other little things I've been dabbling in, and I'll save them for next week probably. But Huck, anything else for you?
No, nothing at all.
Okay, well, that's it for this week. Thank you for listening or watching on youtube.com/GameJunk. If you watched it on there, just throw us a subscribe. I barely beg like a loser for that stuff, but let's just get us some cold hard cash. And then I won't have to resort to Miyamoto clickbait bullshit, but I will if I have to. And you can find Sean on Twitter, FilmJunk, Andrew at Equilibrium Assists, and My Angry Commute. Until next time, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.